Do we need a minister for men? 0207 862 2222 is the number we need, and you need, and we'll speak to you in a moment. Men living in the most deprived areas of the UK are 81% more likely to die young. Men's health charity Movember have warned that 2 in 5 male deaths are premature. Prevention of suicide, prostate and testicular cancer is at the top of the Movember Foundation's agenda. The charity also warned that men are more likely to take part in risky behaviours and make unhealthy lifestyle choices such as smoking and drinking. Movember are calling for a dedicated health minister to address the poor health of blokes across the nation. So do we have a minister? We do have a minister for women. So do you think there should be a dedicated minister for men? Does seem like it would be only fair.
No, not for me at all. You know, again, I'm sorry, I've used this expression already once on the show, the nanny state. I mean, where does it stop? We've got ministers for most areas of life in this country. We're a very developed Western country. So, Minister for Men, what next? Minister for Pets? Should have a minister to look after your budgie and your cat, because that can, impact on your mental health. What about a minister for loneliness, because some people get lonely? There are some human conditions you have to look after yourself. You can't just keep on appointing government ministers to look after every aspect of your life.
OK, and it would be great if people could only eat healthy and never drink and never smoke and never go skiing and never play rugby and never do anything that there's any kind of risk involved, and always keep a clean mental health and always, go out for walks. It'd be great if that was. It's not happening, Mike, and we have 2 in 5 men dying prematurely,
which I'm very sorry about. And we've got to, as a civilised society, look at that situation. I agree there should be a minister for women, because generally speaking, men attack women. Very few women attack men. So I'm all for that. Men
also attack men, and men are very harsh on themselves.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm sorry, you can't just keep extending, the dead hand of the state to look after everything. We've got to take self-responsibility. We've all got friends. If they've got problems, help them. We've all got families. If they've got problems, the family have got to rally around and help. We don't need a minister for men.
I disagree. I think that every group in society should have a minister dedicated to them. And I tell you why.
Yeah.
Well, men are one of the biggest groups in society, correct?
Absolutely.
Right. So in recent years, I have seen a huge marketing campaign and awareness around women's health and women's well-being, whether it's menopause, miscarriage, endometriosis, breast cancer. I see it everywhere. And because of it, I'm more aware of what I need to be aware of. And the men in my life also now talk to me about those women's issues.
But that's the job of the NHS, isn't it?
No. But we don't have... I'm so uneducated around the things that men in middle age and older age go through, because there's no marketing around it at all. And when you think that there are this many men committing suicide because they feel they've got no one to talk to, when there are this many men who are feeling lonely and abandoned. Remember, women's rights have been brilliant for us, right? We've been out there, we're having our voices heard in places like never before. That's brilliant. But the problem is, it's also helped men feel more isolated. Men don't know who to turn to for support. And this is why you've got really toxic masculinity like Andrew Tate and young boys. When I speak in schools, when I go to speak in assemblies, all the young men, and I speak to young people from ages 10 all the way up to their mid-20s, and they were obsessed with Andrew Tate, obsessed with him, because he's the one speaking for men, saying, men, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to behave. This is where you can go for help. This is how you can have stronger
well-being. That's not a good thing, is it? And we need to discourage people listening to people like Andrew Tate, honestly.
Well, a minister for men would then be aware of the things that men are going through and bring them to the table, bring more awareness out there.
I think common sense goes out the window when you start, trying to argue that there are bad influences in life. There's bad influences in every area of life, and I just don't think you can appoint a minister to straighten things out. Are we at a stage where
we're trying to readdress society and make society a little bit more equal between men and women? In order to do that, we have a minister for women now, Women Inequalities Minister, in order to readdress that balance. But in readdressing it, we've displaced men slightly, and so men now have issues that perhaps they didn't have before, they didn't suffer from, and therefore we need to look at a little bit closely at them and what the issues are and why they're erupting the way they are?
I think your life is, again, being manipulated by outside forces that don't need to be there. Some things
but they
you have
clearly
to sort
do
out
need
yourself.
to be there. If this many men are dying before their time, think about it this way: it's not only a gender issue; it's also a British culture issue, right?
Yeah.
We've always been stiff upper lip, keep calm and carry on.
Yes.
If we've taught men in life that they've just got to get it done, stiff upper lip, no emotions, etc., you're now juxtaposing that with mental health and them feeling lonely. Of course they feel helpless. They don't know where to turn.
But to be honest, I think we've got a lot of heroes in the world now, and I mean sports stars, and pop stars and people like that. And I'm always very impressed at the amount of time people in the public eye spend talking about mental health, particularly men who say, if you feel down. And I think that's much more powerful, and they should be encouraged to do it, than having a government minister trying to tell you something about your life, when if your sporting hero is saying it, and let's face it, there's an awful lot of sporting heroes who do work on testicular cancer and men's illnesses, when they speak about it, it's much more powerful.
They might speak about it, but when does the policy happen? The policy has got to be brought up in Westminster by a minister. Therefore, men would benefit from it.
OK, we're going to take a pause here and we're going to go straight to the phone lines and speak to Danielle from Hertfordshire. What's your view when it comes to a Minister for Men? Would it be beneficial?
Yes, I think it would.
In what way?
Well, it's down to equality, isn't it, again? Men should have as much right as women to be heard.
Would it be fair to say that men over the years have probably had more of a voice, and this is just equaling it up for a little while, just to have a minister for women, just to get their voice up there rather than needing a minister for men too?
No, I think they need it. They need it. In the old days, I suppose, yes, men were heard more, but and now I just think that times have changed, and men should be thought of just as much as women.
Oh, I mean, I don't think anyone would disagree with that and disagree with equality. I suppose we have a women's minister because we have a real issue with certain things that are specific to women. For example, femicide, I think it's called. Two women a woman every 3 days is killed at the hands of a man. Numbers of rapes and the numbers of charges of those rapes are just unbelievably low. Those are very specific areas in which women are predominantly the victims, and that's why we have a women's minister. Do we need a man's minister to make sure that men go to the doctors more often?
Well, yes, and men do get treated badly by women. I've known a few, but they just don't come out with it. They're too embarrassed.
Well,
I think that's
unfair. They're not killed.
It's a very small number, to be honest. I mean, generally speaking, it's women who are attacked by men. I mean, see, what I don't understand is once again, you're taking away personal responsibility. If somebody is a man and he feels a bit depressed one day, what does he do? Does he ring up the bloke who runs the ministry for men, the men's minister, and say, I'm feeling a bit down today, what should I do? We've got to accept responsibility for what goes on in our life,
Mike,
the influences
I know
of
you're
it.
being facetious with that.
That's it. Do you know, if we're going to talk about data, and you talked about femicide, if we're going to talk about data, 2 in 5 men are dying prematurely. The suicide rate of men in their 20s and early 30s is 3 times higher than that of women. We've got to ask ourselves why. We can't just lower the tone and say it's just about men calling up a minister to get a doctor's appointment. That's ridiculous.
No, it's not, because the NHS is there to not only treat us for illnesses we've got, but to be proactive in our health in all forms,
but
mental health. So why do you need another?
Isn't just about health. A men's
ministry?
minister is about all sorts of things that could impact a man in his life.
But all those things you've talked about basically relate
calls.
to health and mental health.
Danielle, thank you very much for your call. Carol Ann from Lanarkshire, do we need a men's minister?
No, I don't think we do need a man's minister, because I think the the Minister for Health should be able to. That should be his remit, and that I mean, I sympathise with men who have issues, and I sympathise also with women who have issues, but I don't think the money that they're given to these ministers should be better going to the NHS than giving inflated wages to these people.
So just to follow on from that then, you think that the Justice Minister should deal with the cases of rape and femicide that we see against women?
But isn't that what his role is? Is that not the remit of his job or her job, whoever it is?
I suppose.
And should the NHS or the health minister not deal with the issues that you're bringing up today?
Caroline, I totally take your point that we've got MPs that should be advocating for both genders and everybody in society.
Yes,
But we have really tremendous issues when it comes to the safety of women and girls in this country, and we have a really massive issue when it comes to suicide amongst young men of a specific age group. And so shouldn't we have a minister that is there to tackle those specific issues that affect a vast majority of the population? They're so big, in fact, that they can't fall under the same remit as health and justice.
Right, so what is this minister going to do? Is he going to be there, as your colleague had said, Mike, is he going to be there to help that person who's there? What would be his role in that position? To do what? What is he going to do to make it better for these people?
I'm not in politics, but I am presuming it is a minister's job to advocate for a group, not individuals. They can't advocate for individuals, but what they can do is advocate for a group. So maybe they set up mental health units in different areas across the country specifically for men, so it's a safe place for men to go. Maybe they find other ways, set up social clubs that are more attractive to men in order to make men socialise and chat. I don't know, I'm not the ideas person, but I'm presuming that that's what that individual job would be about, to try and reduce those numbers.
But really, would that really be the role that they're put into doing? Because within communities, isn't the community setting up people in roles like that, in groups like that? The communities are doing that.
Well,
so
the numbers are going up.
You need to pay an inflated wage to a person to tell you that we're going to set up a group to do that. I don't think that's the way forward, and I don't think that's the way that money should be put forward as a minister. It's just making another role for a minister.
All right.
If there's a rise in male suicide, there is clearly a problem, and we need to find out what it is. And I think it's belittling to say that actually it's just about an appointment for a health appointment.
Well, I think we've got the resources to do that now within the NHS, £180 billion a year. We've already talked about dental treatment.
Okay.
There must be resources to help men.
All right, well, thank you for all your calls on that. It's time to move on to our final debate now, and this is quite a shocker, actually, as if you haven't been shocked already on the show.